Okay. Today we have Helene McGinn joining us. She is the owner of Pink Pixies Professional Floor Cleaning, the unfortunate recipient of a 14-year marriage to me.
No.
Isn't it 15 years already?
It's 15 years in March. Also, she has some really deep, insightful information for us in hypnosis and NLP, which we can't wait to dig into. But first and foremost, Helene, tell everybody and tell us and explain the format of Pink Pixies Professional Floor Cleaning. How did you get to the Pink Pixies? Is it a representation of yourself? And what exactly does it mean?
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. It's really nice to be here. I like what you've done with the place. It's nice.
First guest, welcome.
Yeah. Nice.
We're excited for this.
Me too. Pink Pixies. Okay. Well, it was very organic. We had a friend over from Canada, and we sat down one day, and originally the thought came to me to try this because we have, how many dogs? 3 dogs. Mm-hmm. And the one that we lost in March of this year, she actually had a stroke way back in January. And unfortunately she got really sick. So she wasn't able to control her bladder at all. And we went out one day and we came back and the whole house was just kind of ruined. And in my infinite wisdom, I tried to fix that with one of these machines that you just rent from the shop. And it made it infinitely worse, and we actually ended up losing half of our deposit because of it. And I remember thinking to myself, there has to be an easier or better way to do this. And I started looking into machines because I love machines, I love tools. I'm probably one of the only people out there, or maybe there's more, but I love it. If you want to spoil me, you give me tools.
So guess what's on my Christmas list for my wife?
Yes.
Always a tool.
Power tools, baby.
Power tools.
I believe that's how I got paid for making the sign as well. Just
Yes.
giving me a table saw.
I wouldn't have pointed that out that you made our sign.
Yes,
Yes.
she did.
Looks amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
it was my pride and joy. I really enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of how Pink Pixies got started, just out of a necessity to be cleaner in our own house. When we started doing the branding, because both of us were really tiny and we were female, we wanted to make sure that we carried that across, that it's women-owned and women-operated. And it is a male-oriented or very male-oriented industry. I don't think that there are many other floor cleaning and restoration companies that are actually women-owned and operated.
Why is that though? So tell us a bit about, because when you hear floor cleaning, I mean the average person is going to think someone's going to come in and sweep your floor, because it could be. Now I know the in-depths of the business, so it can be easily construed that you're going to come in, you're going to polish and clean my floors, no equipment required. But when you say there, it's usually a male-dominated industry. Tell everybody why.
Well, that would be because the machines are heavier than what we are. Honestly, a lot of times I wonder why I did this myself, because these machines are so incredibly heavy. I think my lightest machine is 80 pounds. And also, just to go back about what people would perceive as floor cleaning, that's probably why the branding took the turn that it did, because we didn't want to be the same as everybody else. And just in a general way, women have a much better eye for detail. And women are the ones who actually end up struggling the most with keeping their tile and grout clean. And if you've ever tried to do that, you would know that that is a back-breaking, never-ending, hellish existence to try and keep it clean. So I think that was also part of the decision-making process, was, let's see what the men are doing. Not to take anything away from them, this is a hard job, this is a back-breaking job. And let's see if there's any way that we can actually do it better, or make the experience for the people who want to use this better. So we're very honest about it. We are not the fastest because we are so detail-oriented, and we are also not the cheapest because we are so detail-oriented.
Okay.
And we want to make sure that when you use us as a floor cleaning and restoration company, that we don't just give you nice floors, or we make it look brand new, especially with the restoration part, which is what you can do with your grout. But we want to make you feel like you want us to be there, or
Right.
you wouldn't mind having us come back in a
Who's
year
your
from
biggest
now.
competitor? Like, if you had to, like, if there's not necessarily your competitor, meaning like for the listeners to understand like what industry you're in, it sometimes helps to know the big company that's out there. Like, who would that be?
The biggest one in Florida, I believe, is Stanley Steamer.
That's what I thought you'd say. Yeah.
But we're not really in the same market as much. We're very small, for one, and we do offer a different type of service. We do very high-end customers, so a lot of the work that we are doing is actually in multi-million-dollar homes. So you have to be very, very well, I would say, certified for one, but also you need to have a very broad base of knowledge to make sure that you don't do any damage to the client's home.
Yeah, I gotta imagine if you're walking into a $1 million house and there's $100,000 worth of floor there, you don't want to mess that up.
And you know, the floor is the least of our concern, because you walk into a multi-million-dollar home, the furniture is worth more than my business, probably.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
So, and especially if you have to start moving furniture around, you have to do it in a way, and especially when the customer is there,
Yeah.
you want to make sure they understand that you're not going to damage their furniture, you're not going to
for sure.
steal from them, because that is apparently a concern. And people just generally feel more secure or safer when a female operated company
Sure.
comes in. For some reason, they don't see us as a threat. And obviously our stature, for one, because
Well,
we're tiny.
in my mind, like, you know, when you think cleaning, like, yeah, a man can clean well, but females just have the eye for detail.
It's a different ball.
And it's like there's a trust factor into something like this, where just, all right, there's a warm feeling and a trust factor behind you walking into my house, and I know you're going to do the job way better than I would ever do.
I think also if you think about it, is let's say you're the man of the house and you're at work, and let's say you have your wife's a housewife, right? How comfortable would you be if you know that there's two females coming in the house,
Sure.
versus two big guys coming in that you don't know? Like, and it's nothing on that, you're a business, but just from a safety aspect,
Sure.
and also knowing that when they walk in the house from a woman's perspective, it must be a lot more comforting knowing that, okay, there's other women in here, they feel safer. It's a much safer environment for them in your own home, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and that's actually what I've found in the market itself, is men and women alike, they prefer having the females come in and clean for them. Even with normal cleaning, just residential cleaning, they do feel more comfortable having females there. In fact, a lot of the times when I actually go out to see my clients before I do a job, to go and do a custom quote, they always ask, oh, who are you going to be sending? And I'd be like, no, it's going to be me and a team, or maybe one or two girls that's going to come. And they are always surprised when I say, oh, really, you are going to come and clean?
That makes a good point.
And it does build a lot of credibility with them, especially when I can speak to them about what they can expect, how we do things. We take a lot more time, even before we get to the job, to make sure our clients understand what we're going to be doing, and to make them feel more comfortable. And yes, to the detail, for sure, we've had people coming to clean our floors. I don't know if you remember, but I wasn't exceptionally happy with the way that they were doing. The result was fine. And obviously later on, when I started to learn more about what the proper ways are of dealing with my machines, I realized that there were actually a lot of things that could have damaged my floors a lot when they were cleaning it.
Wow.
But if you don't know, you don't know.
Sure.
And it also speaks to the level. So I have $1 million home, right? So I stay in this $1 million home. I have this fantastic floor that's put in, and let's first talk about a floor that's older, right? So I've had my house for 10 years. I've got my floor in. Now, if you're thinking of $1 million home, to replace, let's say, 3,000 square feet of $1 million home with tiles and the high-end tiles, you're talking about $50,000-$60,000
At least.
Like, it's going to be a big chunk of change.
Yeah.
What benefit would it be? So I've got the option now. My tiles are, maybe I've got a couple cracked. My grout's busy filling out. I now want to bring you into clean. How do you compete with me? Obviously, the price point's the first one, right? So it's going to be a lot cheaper for me to clean them. But what is the long-term benefit of that versus replacing the whole floor?
Well, for one, you can either opt to just clean, which is, you can do that, and it's going to be clean for a week, 2 weeks.
Okay.
But I would always tell them, we can come in, we can do the cleaning, we can look at everything. We always test anyway. We do an inspection beforehand. We make sure that we can actually do the work that we need to do, because you don't want to use your machines on a big floor like that, especially where a client is on the brink of deciding whether you should spend that much money or not, and then they just decide, you know what, we actually can't afford that. Or we don't want to do that. It's too disruptive. Let's just do something else.
Okay.
I would always suggest to them, why don't we come in, we do the cleaning, and we actually patch your grout wherever we can, or wherever it's not filled in anymore, but then we also seal it, we color seal it. So that does two things. So the one thing that it does is it actually makes your floor look brand new.
Okay.
Because it actually bonds to the grout. It protects it, so permanent stains won't be happening anymore, and it makes it easier to clean. The beauty of it is you can actually change the color. So if you, way back in the 2000s, they had this really ugly ceramic tile that all the developers used, and they used a whitish tile with a grayish speck, and they used this standard gray grout. Over time, that grout is going to start to stain. You can clean it as much as you can, but it's just, there's going to come a point where it's just not going to come clean anymore. It's just going to be stained. And then it's just going to look ugly. But with this type of color shield, you can actually change the color of the grout completely.
Oh, okay.
So you can.
That's cool.
Yes, and it can make it look completely different. So you can go from a place that has black grout and white tiles and white grout, and then you can actually change it to something that's very close to the tile, which opens it up completely. It looks beautiful. And I know people are going, oh, I don't really want to have light type of grout, but because you're using that sealer that is a little bit more stain resistant, or for the most part it will stop stains from staying or becoming permanent, and it also makes it easier to clean.
I have a question. What if you have a spot in the floor, like I'm sure I've seen in some people's houses, like grout has popped up or something. Is that something you're able to fix in your process, or do they need to bring in a profession?
A lot
Not
of
that you're not a
times,
professional, like a different type of professional.
They need to replace the tile.
Yeah, a
Yes.
different type of professional.
it really depends. I'm not very keen on just doing spot fixing of grout.
Okay.
Although we will only offer that as part of our service if they are sealing the entire floor.
Okay.
One of the concerns is that it doesn't matter what you patch it with, it will always look like a patch job unless you actually seal everything. So we can actually mix our sealer with the grout, and while we're patching it up, so it actually gives you a much more even color, and it will last long. If a tile is broken and they don't have a way of fixing it or replacing it, obviously we will do our best to repair it as much as we can, but it will always be a broken tile.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So let's talk practically. So my good friend Kevin, this is his office that we've now converted to partial studio that we'll show as we develop that. We're busy building this out, but within time we're going to break this entire place out, and it's going to be a headquarters for the Layman's Lab.
Yep.
So if you can see the tile on the camera, right? So if you had to come to Kevin and you have a look at this tile, knowing what we're doing with the studio, what would your recommendation be for this floor?
Well,
Mop. Sorry, Kevin, put you on the spot there, buddy.
no.
Vacuum and mop.
Well, luckily vacuuming is in any case our first step. So we always come in, we'll vacuum first before we do anything else. But I would actually suggest, again, color sealing it, and I would go closer to the lightest color, maybe lightest of the gray, not the white, but more towards the gray, but much lighter than what's in here right now. So it would actually blend in very easily and very beautifully with the tile. So that it's you don't really see the difference between the grout and the tile.
I feel like the tile, maybe there's nothing you can do about this, but like it brings out a reddish color in the tile.
Yes, yeah, and you can go that type of color. This is where the testing is really important.
Yeah.
So I have a whole kit full of already small color shields, so we can drop it on each. We can drop each of the colors on the tile. We can drop it in the grout, and you can really see what it will look like before you actually decide to do it.
Oh, so you've got a process where you can kind of decide the right colors in this process. Now, for Kevin, who's the owner of this building, what benefit does he have of coming in and saying, "Listen, I've got two options. I can overlay this floor with something else, right? Which is something we've discussed. We've discussed maybe putting something else in here." Versus coming in and now doing a ceiling on this. Now, looking at the tile, this is an older tile, this is an older building, right? What can we do with this tile to really make it pop? Right, so we want the effect where it looks really clean with the rest of the way that we set up the studio. This tile, which is an old tile, we probably couldn't even find these in the store anymore.
Yeah, you won't be able
Right,
to.
so you won't be able to find them. So now, other than replacing this floor, what benefit to a owner as Kevin would it be to seal and change the color of this floor for him, not only from a perspective of a visual perspective, but a perspective of a homeowner? So what benefit is it to him?
Well, especially if you eventually try to sell, or if homeowners are trying to sell, one of the things that we've found is that 95% of people that come into an establishment, they judge a place's cleanliness on the floor immediately.
Makes
So
sense.
it doesn't matter how clean the floor is or how many times you've cleaned it. If it looks stained,
If it looks dirty.
then it looks dirty.
Okay.
And then they
makes
will
sense.
judge you accordingly.
Okay.
Yeah.
The second thing is, and this is especially for the realtors and property managers that we work with on a
Nice.
regular basis, is when you do that before you start to put your house on the market, it can actually increase the perceived value of your property up to 5%. Basically what that means is a buyer will come in, let's say you have a dirty floor or a floor that hasn't been looked after, it has lots of stains on it, and then you have your sealed and
Yeah.
washed floor. The difference between the two is they would be much more likely to say, oh, you know what, I'm willing to pay the asking price for the one that is sealed and cleaned, because I don't need to do anything to this place. I don't need to change the flooring. I can just move in. If I want to change the tile, which is old, I can do it at a later stage. I don't have to do that right now. I'm not going to be embarrassed by it.
It's that benefit of an owner that I can move in and start living instead of
Yes.
making all sorts of changes. That makes sense.
Instead of
Well-
arguing the price down.
One thought I have is we just past weekend went to a friend's house that they're a wealthy family, and the first thing I noticed walking in their home, this beautiful home, is their floors. Like they had these beautiful, it was actually a tile, it was a wood tile floor, but you would never know it was tile. And both Sam and I, when we walked out, couldn't stop talking about how beautiful the floors were and brought it all together.
It's amazing how you say that, because like when
Yeah.
she said it now, I was like,
I never
you
thought
don't
about that.
honestly always think when you walk into a place, but the first thing that really makes the difference to a place, how I perceive how
Yeah.
it looks to me, is the floor. The floor is like, I always think of those images you see, and my partner in Miami, his condo's got this. You walk in and the flooring in the condo are those massive Italian tiles, those
Wow.
super white, there's almost no grout in between them.
Wow.
And you walk in, you get this sense, wow, this place is amazing.
Yeah.
And then you see everything else.
Yeah.
Like it almost kind of
That's
closes.
how this home was. It
Yeah,
was just
it's when you said it now, like I didn't really realize that.
beautiful home. Like you walk in, it's like a U shape. You can see the pool right there. But the flooring just made it so warm, and of course they had it decorated very well. But the flooring made it so warm, it just drew it all together. And you were just, I don't know, there was a feel about it. You almost just like, you enjoyed just being in that presence of that home, that space. And it was a really nice evening. But until I heard you say that, I didn't necessarily like process
It doesn't really, and then you think, okay, that makes sense.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, and have you ever gone into a restaurant and the first thing you smell is chemical? And then
Or your feet slide on the floor.
Or sticky.
I've experienced
Or
that.
sticks even worse.
Sticks to the floor, which is gross.
So would you eat there? Because I don't.
Yeah, it always gives you that kind of icky feeling. You walk in a place and like, I'm not sure.
I knew a guy that would refuse to eat in places like if he went into the bathrooms and they were nasty, and the way he would say it was like, with the bathrooms like that, imagine what the kitchen's
Yes,
like. Well, if their
exactly.
floors are like that, imagine what the kitchen's like.
Exactly.
Right? It's the same concept.
I'm going to break us for 2 seconds. We just got our coffee delivery from Just Love Coffee in Brandon.
Nice.
So let's grab that and then we'll be back in 2 seconds. Straight back in. Thank you, Lou, for the coffee. It's always
Yes,
welcome.
and I got my decaf for wife, so thank you so much, because I can't have any caffeine.
That's funny.
It is funny. I just wanted to mention,
Yeah.
you were saying about the house that has the beautiful floors, right? So that's the other side of it. So, and you were asking about the benefits. So let's say you wanted to lift this floor up. Well, that's going to cost you a lot of money to lift it up. If you just want to go straight over it, it would really depend on what you want to put over it. Because if you're going to be putting LVP, which is a luxury vinyl plank, on it or over it, you would need to float this floor first. And that's going to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
So you're looking at around anything from, I would say, $8 to $12 a square if you're lifting and you're renewing or you're redoing. It depending obviously on what you're putting in.
Right.
Whereas with the cleaning and sealing, you're looking at around $1, $1.25 max.
Big price difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's huge.
That makes sense.
So the benefit to cost ratio is much better depending on how long you want to wait
Right.
before you do your renos.
Right.
So for a lot of investors, that's actually a great way of doing it as well. So we do a lot of work for rental
That's a good
agents.
point. That's
Yeah.
a good point. If you can salvage a floor and just clean it, bring it to life, I'm sure investors, flippers that are out there,
Yeah, that's a big one, right?
they're going to save time and money on a project like that.
And talking on salvaging is, I remember with the 2 hurricanes that hit us hard this year. On the first one, there was quite a bit of flooding, and one of the things that I find remarkable with Pink Pixies, and you see them online a lot of times, is it's not just tile and grout. There's also the carpet cleaning aspect.
Yeah.
Now, before Helene ever opened this business, I'd always see these videos that people post where they show that carpet cleaning. They take a carpet pretty much black. I'm gonna tell it's a carpet. It looks like a piece of dirt from outside.
Yeah.
And they start that cleaning process, right?
Yeah.
And on the website, on the Pink Pixies website, which we'll put at the bottom of the page in the podcast, on the website it shows versions where Helene does that cleaning. Now I remember going with her. What was the first hurricane's name? It was after Helene.
It was Helene.
No, it was before. It was the first one.
Helene was the first one that had all the
Helene was the first one, right? What was the second one?
Milton.
Milton and Helene. So it was after Helene, and I think we went to St. Pete, and there was this house that was crazily flooded, right? And the water had receded, and dude, you walked in there, and it was a smell of seaweed and shit, right?
Yeah, it wasn't
and
great.
I looked at this place, and I was like, oh, it was bad. Like I didn't want to even be there. And I remember Helene putting the machines out. She drained the water. She started cleaning, dude. Other than the fact that there was so much other damage from water that she couldn't do, that floor looked new.
Really?
It's on
What
the
kind of
website.
flooring was it?
What floor was that? That was a tile, right?
It was a Berber carpet.
Yes.
And then there was
Carpet.
Dude. I
And
You
it
would
was a
clean
tile.
it and not pull it.
It had to be pulled, but in order to pull it, because it's so heavy from all the water, you have to get the water out.
Because there's additional damage. But when she'd done it, so when you looked at that carpet when we started, right? And I'll post the pictures on this section. You looked at it when it started. There was things in there I wouldn't want to touch with my hands, right?
Yep.
And when she was done with it, other than the fact that they'd have to pull it because of seawater damage or something, that carpet looked new. I looked at it like, how did you do this? I went the second day. I was like, how? Because
Lots of elbow grease.
It's the machines that she uses. They have extremely high pressure up to 2,000 psi, and the amount of things it pulls out of a carpet. Now, I have a love-hate relation with carpet. I don't want a house with carpets in. I hate houses with carpets. It's dirty. They're hard to keep clean. You don't know what's in them. But even more so after Helene explained what crap is on floors, right? Which I'm pretty sure she's going to like now. Like I don't want to touch a carpet with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
I used to be okay doing push-ups on the gym floor, and I'll still do, but I wash my hands afterwards now. Previously, I didn't.
Yes, we don't have the 5
Because I
second
thought it was
rule
okay.
anymore.
Yeah, no.
It's not okay.
It's not okay. Tell us why it's not okay.
Oh my goodness, I can't remember what the exact number is, but I think your square inch of carpet holds something like 250 times more germs than a toilet seat.
Wow.
So if you've got your children,
Toilet seat.
yes, toilet seat.
When you say it like that, it's
Dude, I used to.
And that's for tile and grout as well.
Yeah,
by the way.
so I used to be fine with the 5 second rule. Falls on the floor, pick it up. So, dude, I don't have no second rule. A fork falls on the floor, I'm getting it. After this, I was like, nah, it's never happening again.
It's so funny
they
because
ruined it,
we're in the BNI, and every time I have one of those little tidbits of information, you can just. It's beautiful. You can just see everybody's face crunch up.
It's the cringe moments.
Because if you have small children, your children are walking or crawling on the floor. They're eating stuff all the time. They're putting stuff in their mouth. And yes, I mean, immune system it does need some germs to help it get strong. But does it really need that much?
Yeah, but I mean, also listen. Like, I want my kids' immune system to go. So do I let them pick it up on the floor, or lick the toilet seat? So it could be either way.
Oh, I know. And there's grout as well. Grout can really, really hold on to because it's porous. So you'd think, oh no, tile and grout, it's a very hard surface, I can mop it, it's never going to stay there. But that smell that you get in a restaurant is specifically because the chemical that they've been cleaning with, there's a residue, and it actually attracts dirt more into the grout now. So if you're smelling that, and it smells like ammonia in a restaurant, that is chemical that's been tracked from wherever they were cleaning, including the toilets, all the way into where you're eating.
That's crazy.
So normally what I do is I walk into a restaurant, and because of this job, or maybe it's just, I've always had
It's
it.
always
How
kind of
often should a restaurant be doing a deep clean on their floors like that?
If they do not have a really good protocol, I would say a deep clean at least once every 6 months. If they have it sealed, that will be less, but then they also need to they need to adjust their cleaning protocols.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. You can't just, and I know a lot of restaurants, they know this, they say they know this, they say they do this, but when you walk in there, you can smell that they don't.
I'm going to pick on vegan restaurants for a second.
Oh boy.
Right? And I don't know why. Listen, this isn't because, maybe it's not because it's vegan, but every time that I walk into one of these vegan, and in our particular case, it would be like an ice cream place, and this is why. So we'll search online, and we're looking for organic and clean, and I don't know why organic and vegan comes into the same thing, because they're not. But you'd find this place, and it's usually a place that does desserts, and I'd walk in, and it smells like it's not the food, right? I'm not saying it's the food, it's the actual place. And I didn't know this before, but until you explained it to me, it's because the floor, what they clean the floors with is the same stuff they clean the bathroom with. So someone goes in and they mop up the bathroom, and they can mop up the outside where they produce the food, and they mop the kitchen.
Yeah, I've so my past life, we sold these types of chemical cleaning products to restaurants and mop buckets, things like that, and that was something we always attacked, the mop bucket area, if you will, where like you just said, they're using some pine saw, dropping it in, and then just taking it through the whole entire place.
You know what I mean? It's the same time,
same
and effort.
dirty water, same nastiness all the way through, and it's gross, right? So it's just.
Well, there's actually a protocol that you have to follow.
Yeah.
You have to keep everything that you clean your kitchen with has to be separate, the restaurant area and especially the bathroom area. But and I know restaurant owners know this. Your staff, they do not care about your restaurant as much as you do.
Yeah.
And especially if it's something like an ice cream shop or dessert shop, they are just there to do the work.
Because I mean, I suppose if you're doing something like desserts where you're not necessarily preparing food, you're not cooking anything, and you're just kind of going in and I hope it isn't the case, but I mean, I've seen it firsthand. Maybe in those particular cases they don't think it's as necessary, and I wouldn't have thought it was as necessary years ago. But until she's done this and kind of explains that what a floor actually holds, it's a big thing for a food, especially in food production.
So that's why I always say restaurant managers and restaurant owners that are not actively involved in the day-to-day.
In my mind, I'm sorry.
No, they need to realize that this is going on, and it's actually affecting your business.
Yeah,
so
100%.
Get it cleaned, get it sealed, and then at least for the most part, it will make it easier for your staff to clean.
But to me, the easiest review to give is the one that when you walk in, you have a bad experience or a bad feeling based on the cleanliness of the place. Versus think about when you walk into a restaurant that's immaculate and it's clean, you feel good, you want to be there, you want to sit down and enjoy your meal. And it's an experience versus
it's very different.
This place is gross.
I think there's a reason why they say it's so clean you can eat off the floor.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a good expression. For Pink Pixies, so run us through your services. So there's tile and grout cleaning.
Yes.
Floor cleaning services, including carpets.
LVP.
What other services would you go? If I think to mind is there was this one of our BNI members, Roger, who's a fantastic in any construction jobs. He came forward and he brought you a shower which was pretty grungy.
Yes.
Tell us about the shower, because that's kind of interesting to me, because you never kind of think of a shower. You know what? It's the old man's. Someone spoke about this the other day, right? So I'm going to try and clarify this in the cleanest terms. It's walking into a bachelor's flat where they have the towel that they think's because it's a towel and it'll never have to be clean, and the towel's kind of stiff when they take it off the rack. Right? It's like one of those type of things. This shower reminded me of that story.
Oh boy.
Well, the house flooded. I don't know what the background is behind that. I just know it flooded, and whatever it flooded with wasn't clean. It was not clean water, and everything settled inside that shower. And it was very gross. We didn't know what it was. In typical fashion, I went to touch it because I wanted to see if it can be taken off easily. And I will never forget Roger's face. It was like, oh my God, don't touch that. I'm like, dude, I've touched way worse. But yes, he was right. I shouldn't probably do that. And we always wear gloves when we do this work. But that's from flooding.
Okay.
And sometimes it's just neglect. A lot of times people don't realize that I have to take care of my shower. It's taking a beating, especially in Florida with the hard water.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, that's a big thing, and I mean, that's kind of what I want to touch on, because you look at Pink Pixies professional floor cleaning, but you guys do way more than that.
Yeah, we do restoration as well. So the color seal and the clear seal of the grout and those type of things, that will fall under the more of the restoration for us. And there's also the honing of marble. So when your marble floors are getting a little bit, it loses its shine, or there's damage. So we had one, for example, it was at a club, a training club, like a gym, and it had beautiful marble floors that was done way back in the 80s. So it just shows you how, I mean, marble floors are expensive. They're really expensive, so you want to take care of it. And this is testament to that. So it was put in the 1980s, so that's what, 44 years, and it's never been redone. And some of the cleaners that did something there, I would suspect that they had acidic cleaners, which you don't use on stone. You don't want to do that. And they squirted it all over the floor, and they left it. And when they came back, those marks were black, and it actually etched all the way into that marble.
So it ate into the marble.
It ate into the marble, and we were called in to clean it.
Okay.
So obviously, this is something that you don't really necessarily clean because it's already etched in there, and you would have to hone it or close to hone it and then polish it.
I'm not like an expert by any stretch of the but isn't marble very porous, so it absorbs and sucks it in real well?
It's not very porous, but it is a porous stone. It's still stone, right? So you want to polish it to its high shine, or you want to hone it to a matte finish, and then you want to seal it. You really do want to seal it. And then also you want to make sure that whoever is cleaning your floors know what they are doing.
Yeah, for sure.
You can do so much damage to natural stone if you don't know what you're doing.
I bet.
And the same for carpet. That's why we always test. If you, for example, there was a story when we were doing.
What do you mean
training.
test?
So you do a burn test. If you're doing carpet, you can do a burn test. You'll cut a small piece of a carpet fiber that you won't even notice, and then you burn it with a lighter. You smell it. If it smells like burnt hair, you know it's natural, it's wool.
Okay.
Or it could be rayon, which was actually made to mimic wool way back in the day.
That's interesting.
And wool is very, very expensive, and it's flame retardant. It's fire retardant. So it can last, you can have a fire and it will take very long for that, and it doesn't really burn.
Wow.
It makes this very soft ash. So that's why it's so expensive.
Okay.
And if you are going to clean that with a very high alkaline cleaner, or you're not cleaning it with the right thing, you could end up really ruining it. If you use chlorine or you use bleach, you could actually dissolve it. So you can delaminate it. There's so many things that can go wrong if you don't know what you're doing. If you use too much water, you can delaminate it as well.
So it's not just as simple as, well, I have a carpet, come clean it. Like there's a very detailed process in making sure that, like, I mean, again, I suppose I could buy $100 carpet from IKEA, or I could have a $10,000 carpet, Persian carpet comes in, and obviously the process is going to be very different for how you treat each, right?
Yes. There's your biggest seller in the market is polyester. Most rental companies do that in their homes. If you use a nice padding underneath, then it will last long. But we all know how renters can sometimes ruin stuff, and sometimes those carpets just last a year. It really depends on how you look after it, and you can do a lot of damage. Yes, and every single one of them we don't do silk. I'm reluctant to do wool. I haven't had a lot of clients that had wool, but we are reluctant to do that because it can also shrink. And you have to be really, really careful how you deal with these
so it's a very detailed process. Yes. It's not just let's clean your carpet. Like there's a whole process you have to go through to make sure that the client gets exactly the best result for what they have.
Yes.
So can I just go back? You were talking about stone, right? So you were talking about marble floors, right? What if you have a marble countertop? Is this something that you guys can do? Is it something that will work? So I've got a kitchen, right? Because, I mean, you could have a granite top, you could have a marble top. And the reason that I'm going back to this is you were talking about, like, chemicals. Like, if there's a place you're going to put a ton of chemicals on, it's going to be a countertop in a kitchen. Yes. Right, so now, is there anything you can do for clients who have that?
We are actually busy expanding into that because it takes different machinery. You do need on marble floors, for example, we add weight to our machine when we are doing the honing and the polishing, because it needs that weight. And we don't use a fast machine to do the honing. You use a slow moving machine. So it's very specialized equipment. You can do it by hand with smaller equipment, it's just going to take longer.
Okay.
Right now, we don't offer that, just purely because of time, a time constraint, and also, getting all the machinery in. But that is definitely something that you want a specialized hand in. You want to make sure that the person who's doing it knows what they're doing. There's certain things that you could try to fix for yourself. Marble and granite and stone is not one of those things. You can get away with a lot with tile.
Yeah.
You cannot get away with a lot with
stone.
And even with this new luxury vinyl plank that they are doing everywhere, it seems like it's really hardy. It can take a lot of beating. But even when they say that it's waterproof, believe me, it's not going to be waterproof if you leave water on there for longer than it needs to be. And it's actually not that easy to keep clean.
Okay. So, and I mean, again, point is, if you built a fabulous house and you put in a marble tabletop or floors, like, obviously that's lifetime stuff. This is, you don't put that in to replace that ever.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a lifetime kind of thing. So if you have that and you want to clean that, it's obviously something you want to take real detail and effort in cleaning.
And you want to ask. It doesn't matter who you use. You want to ask, hey, what chemicals are you using? What certifications do you guys have? How many times have you done this? We got qualified through the IICRC, and I can't even remember what this acronym stands for, but they have an international standard for cleaning and restoration.
Nice.
And that goes for water restoration, fire restoration, carpet cleaning, stone, all of these things.
Just point of clarification. Every time I hear you say restoration, I can't help but think of like disasters. Is that essentially what you're coming in after a disaster happens, or what do you mean by when you say restoration? Are we just bringing an old floor to life? Like, what does that look like?
So for us, it's just bringing it more to life.
Okay.
And restoration in the way that you're looking at it, that would be water and fire restoration.
Okay.
We can only do. We will be doing more of the full service of water restoration after this year. But we only do the extraction part. We can do the extraction part if somebody's been flooded. We can extract the grey water so that it can be taken out easily. Because it's incredibly difficult to take...
to restore something from that point.
To take carpets out when it's that heavy after flooding.
That makes sense.
And also when it's grey water or Cat 3 water, you absolutely want to replace. There's certain times when you don't even bother with it.
What do you mean Cat 3?
It's a category 3. So you get clean water. I can't even remember what all these categories are, but it's grey water, it's mud.
Is that the worst?
No, I'm pretty sure there's more than that. But what I've been dealing with mostly has been
when we're talking category, like category 1 would be water out of the faucet.
Clean water.
Okay, and then category 2 is something else in it. Category 3 would be seawater, maybe salt.
Mud water.
Category 25 would be fucking toilet water. Sewage, you know what I mean? It's kind of what I'm getting at. So it's obviously the levels, right?
It's dirty water, yes.
Okay.
Basically.
Actually, I know of a person that joke about that, but the hurricane had some people backing up in their sewage lines, essentially. So they had some shit water.
Dude, I had that. I rented a place in South Africa years ago, like in the 2000s, and we went away for a weekend.
Yeah.
Our owner phones us and is like, "Listen, sorry, but the place is flooded." We're like, "Okay, it's just flooded." No, it's flooded. And we were staying in a complex, right? So there's a lot of different units in there, and we were at the bottom, and everything backed up into our place. Promise, dude, up to here.
Shit.
From everybody else, because the developers were throwing the chemicals and everything they're using in the drain, so they blocked their own drains. So I mean, like, that level of that is like that. We moved out. I'm not staying there. Like, that's done, right? It's like the worst case scenario.
It's like these episodes of Hoarders that you've seen where people just defecate all over the floor and then they expect people to come in and clean it.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, we don't do that.
You don't do shit.
No, we don't do shit. We don't do shit, and we don't do blood. And we don't do...
No bodies or cadavers.
No bodily excretions.
Okay, and so let's take one step further. So if you were to speak to everybody out there who has a floor, right? And I want to go on 2 levels here. The first one I want to go to is, I want to do restoration on my floor, carpets, anything that relates to flooring. What should I be looking out for when I hire someone?
Okay. Ask them what their process is. If they're telling you that they're only going to be, it's going to be 20 minutes in and out per room to clean your floor, or to especially carpets, then you need to have a really big question mark. Because for us, sometimes even just vacuuming a room can take 20 minutes. Because the standard is over traffic areas and around the edges where everything settles, you want to vacuum over that, and this you can actually do yourself as a standard 7 times.
Wow.
Because if you can, vacuuming alone can, and if you do it properly, can remove around 74% of most of the dirt. What you don't want is somebody that's going to come in, they're not going to vacuum, because what they're going to do is they're going to wet your carpet, and it's going to become like mud underneath, just underneath on the laminate at the back.
Yeah.
So eventually it's going to become crusty underneath there. You want them to vacuum. You want them to you want to make sure that they test, or do you test the fibers of the carpet? Even the most experienced carpet cleaners should be testing, because especially today with all the new things that are coming up, you want to know what you're working with.
Okay.
Sometimes, especially when you do the burn test, it smells like wool, it burns like wool, but it's actually rayon.
Okay.
So, and yes, you have to work with it in the same
I'm
way.
acting like I know what rayon is.
I was actually thinking that. I was like, huh?
So way back in the day, people wanted wool, but they couldn't afford it, and then they made rayon because it acts the same. It's not natural.
Knockout version of
it's
wool.
not natural, but it acts like it. The same for cotton or jute. Those things shrink. So if somebody asks you to do it, and if it's got a backing, if you've got a rug or something that has jute backing, you have to make sure that you dry it properly, otherwise it will shrink and it will look really silly. So you want to ask them, do they test? I don't know what other people's processes are because I haven't asked.
So let's simplify it. Anybody who's going to come in and say, let's say I've got 1,000 square feet, and they go, don't worry, it'll take me an hour. Like, stay away from it.
I would stay away from it.
Okay, so speed is not a benefit here.
No, it's not, because you want to be able to give it enough dry time. What's most likely going to happen if they do that is that it's going to be over wet. You're going to be 8-9 hours in after they've gone, and it's going to be slushing on your feet. In Florida, you're going to be growing mold at a rapid rate when that happens, and you might actually end up having to replace it.
Okay.
The same thing, are they protecting your furniture? Are they using corner guards for the cords? Are they, are they putting little coasters? We call it coasters, but it's just a paper, a little bit of cardboard that has foil a foil type of finish underneath that actually protects your carpets from your furniture. So if your carpet is wet and you have heavy metal furniture, guess what's going to happen? It's going to rust onto your carpet.
Okay.
So are they protecting your carpets and your furniture at the same time? Are they moving furniture? If they do move furniture, or how do they move furniture? Are they just going to grab it and drag it around across your floor? Because if they do that on vinyl, they're going to scratch it. It's stuff like that. Just be curious. Ask what the process is. If they tell you it's going to be 20 minutes per room, if they tell you it's going to be $80 altogether, if you know that you're going to get a service that's going to be very, very quick, not very detailed, and you might actually end up with some damage.
Okay.
So I have a question. So our target audience is men entrepreneurs. Okay. You've been in business for some time.
21 years, 24 years actually.
You've learned a lot of lessons, I'm sure, over the years in your business career. What's a lesson from last year that you can think that you've learned in this business
As an entrepreneur, right?
As an entrepreneur, not in your whole years of existence, just last year. What's something, because you've got a lot of experience, like what's something you learned last year that you can say, whether you went well or not went well, but it's just something you like had an aha moment that like, this I should have done differently, or this because I did this made me better. Like what's a lesson you can share with us?
Never assume you know everything. Even if you've done it a million times before, because we become very autonomous and we just kind of do stuff automatically, and we, I've done this so many times before, it's going to be the same. It's not. Always do your research before. Make sure that you know what you're going to be doing before you do it, and never ever assume that every job is going to be the same.
No, that's good.
That's good. That's a good lesson.
And just to be clear, I have not been in this industry for 24 years, but I have been.
No, but you've had lots of businesses.
Yeah, you're a business entrepreneur.
Yeah, for sure.
Before we start diving into the other businesses that you do, right, and the other interesting parts that we really want to get into is tell everybody. And I mean, what we generally do is we bring in entrepreneurs. We allow them to tell us about their business, and then we're gonna this is content for you. This is content for us, and we help each other grow. When we put this content out, give us a 30-second to 1 minute breakdown of what Pink Pixies is. What should we be looking for, and punch your business for us in 30 seconds to a minute, so that we can break this up for you to a nice short and give you some good content. There's 2 cameras running, whichever one you want to choose. Tell them what Pink Pixies is.
Okay. Pink Pixies is a woman-owned and woman-operated floor cleaning and restoration company. We are incredibly detailed in what we do, and we are always aiming to make your floors look brand new, whether it is carpet or luxury vinyl plank or tile and grout. We love working with other entrepreneurs as well, and we want to make sure that when we give you an experience, we give you a good experience. We're not the cheapest, we're not the fastest, but we are very detailed, and we want to take care of our customers as much as we possibly can.
Love that.
Who's your ideal referring person?
Honestly, property managers, realtors, but lately it's been floor installers, if you can believe that. A lot of the new developments, especially in these high-end houses, people are incredibly detail-oriented, so they don't want to see variation in their grout, which is unfortunately what you're going to see no matter what you do. Or they don't like the color that was given to them from the choices they had when they were deciding what to put into their homes. So floor installers, we can help them to make sure that whatever product they deliver looks really good. People who need shower restoration, so property managers that have to deal with a lot of people that maybe not have looked after the properties really well. Property owners who are renting out or selling or even buying. So if they're planning on selling, we are there to make sure that they get the best price for their house, just by doing the floors, doing our part to make their house look really good. And for those who are buying new homes, we want to make sure that when they move into it, it is move-in ready and they don't get any stains in the future. So I would say property managers, realtors, floor installers, those are currently our biggest partners in the business.
Nice.
But as you said, there's many ways to skin a cat.
Yeah, definitely.
Pink Pixies Professional Floor Cleaning. Thank you for giving us all those insights.
Thank you.